Hello. Yeah, Science in front, Charlie. Hello, and welcome to the Comic Experience, episode 157 for the week of May 5th, 2014, for Revenge of the 5th. My name is Ryan Higgins, who's here with me this week.
Brock.
And Charlie.
Toby was here, and then Toby said, wait, I haven't eaten. I'm going to pass out if I don't eat. So he left to go get food instead of recording a podcast. So I guess he's coming back, and we'll talk with him about the stuff that he wants to talk about when he gets back. But in the meantime, why don't we start with a few questions I have here on Twitter.
I was hoping we'd start with Gotham.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to Gotham.
We got to build up to it.
We'll get to Gotham. I'll do a couple things here, and then we talk about Free Comic Day. We talk about Gotham, all sorts of stuff. Mitchell asks,
"What's up, Mitch?"
He doesn't ask that. He asks, "What comics are you most looking forward to in the next 6 months or so?" They don't really announce quite that far out normally, so it's just, we can go 3 months out. That's about as far out as I ever really announced, short of like DC's big Futures End event. They solicited all the books way in advance. But other than that, clearly end of this month, end of Forever Evil, number 7, finally. Mm-hmm. And then the start of the Jeff Johns, Lex Luthor-led Justice League team. Which
that's going to be awesome.
Is going to be double shipping for a couple of months to catch up with this numbering, so that's good.
Yeah, I applaud that.
What else am I really looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to that new Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what they're going to do with that. I'm really curious about what they're going to do with Guardians around the time of the movie, and officially shown today, the cover art for Guardians of the Galaxy number 18, I believe it is, which is the original Sin tie-in. It's Thanos and Rich Rider on the cover. My Nova's back, baby. Actually, I got a question about Nova later, too.
You showed that picture to me earlier, and I was torn. I was like, oh, no.
See, this is me wondering if it's going to be a flashback, and Ryan's going to be all disappointed that it was just a flashback.
Thank you for keeping me on what side of the fence I'm going to be.
Well, it says... what happened to Rich Rider and Star-Lord when they were in the Cancerverse and all that stuff. What's the truth, or what finally happened. But they're pitching it as the return of Rich Rider. So get excited, hype train. I'm so excited. Oh, man, I love me some Nova. I guess we'll find out what that's coming up.
He says that a lot
as it gets closer.
Male characters.
I love Nova. What are the books you guys looking forward to in the next few months?
A regular Batman book?
Yeah, that's coming. That's the new Joker arc.
I mean, I'm really into the Surfer book right now, so I'm looking forward to probably 6 to 8 issues of it in the next 6 months, depending on what they do.
Yeah.
That book's been fantastic so far, but a lot of it just right now is I'm looking towards getting away from the general event stuff that's been going on right now, like Forever Evil's just taken so long to finish up, and Zero Year is kind of killing me, and so.
Southern Bastard number 1 from Image Comics just came out this week. Jason Aaron's new title. I'm real curious to see where that book's going to go.
Awesome.
Yeah. I read
that the other night, and it was amazing.
Due to Free Comic Book Day and other things going on this week, but mostly Free Comic Day, I haven't read a single thing from this week yet, so we'll talk about Free Comic Day here in a little bit. But it's in my stack to read, so I'm going to try to get caught up with that this weekend. Definitely, it should be out in October, assuming this the kind of early talk was right, but what's his face? Oh my god, I totally blanked on his name. Scott Snyder's Witches book that's coming out through Image. Oh, yeah. If that's half as good as I'm hoping it will be. The Wake kind of wasn't.
I liked it.
It's okay. It just wasn't. It just didn't really.
I think it's the release schedule on that, because I mean,
that wasn't
a story arc the first time, and then it kind of changed switched gears. So, yeah, because I noticed even going into other shops, we were like, "You got the Wake in yet?" So it's like, I think it's just a delay between issues.
Yeah, it had a really bad delay, but also
I was going to say, and we can always count on issue 3 of Sandman, I hope.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Yeah, the delays on Wake, are one thing, but I just, it didn't click with me the way I was hoping it would. I read the first couple, and I was like, it's okay. And
it got better.
I just didn't stick with it.
Are we looking forward to Johns and Romita Superman.
I'm looking forward to John's.
Yeah, sure, I'll read it. I hope it's great. I hope it's the best Superman comic in 3 years, which wouldn't be very difficult. But I'm gonna read a question here once I figure out where it was. It's way up here. This is from the Necrotic Doctor on Twitter. He asks, Ryan, I'm talking about me. Why do you have such a boner #boner for Nova? What story was it that got you so crazed for him? That would be the New Warriors series from 1990 by Mark Bagley and Fabian Nicieza, where they reintroduced Nova by Night Thrasher throwing him off the top of a roof to kickstart his powers back in. And when asked how did Night Thrasher know that his powers would restart, Night Thrasher replied, "I didn't." So there you go. That was my first introduction to Nova, and I loved the character since I first read that comic back in, I guess I would have picked it up in like 91, maybe very early 92. I just don't remember when in the year the book came out, so I started reading around issue 12 or 14, and I kind of went back and got all the back issues, so that is where I fell in love with Nova, was that page. Very opening issue. Very opening first like 2 pages of New Warriors #1.
I don't have as much of a #boner as you do for Nova, but I did really enjoy Nova's character coming out of Annihilation, Annihilation Conquest, and what they were doing with all that space stuff with Guardians at the time.
Oh yeah.
So I mean that's where I really came to like that character.
Until the Abnett and Lanning era of Guardians and Nova had kind of not. They hadn't done much with him in a long time.
No, he had like He had that one short series, and then didn't they try and get one out of him around the time they relaunched everything?
I mean, he had 1 or 2, and both kind of were meh.
Didn't
they were all right.
Didn't draw the art on
that was terrible. Yeah, he did like a.
That was a Human Rocket one, right?
Yeah, that was late 90s.
Yeah,
he had the original series back in the late 70s. He then had a series out around the mid New Warriors run in the 40s and 50s when they had some crossovers. That ran like 25 issues, I think. They did the Nova run, the Human Rocket one, the Eric Larson one that was terrible. Then another arc shortly after that, I believe. They ran maybe a year. That was okay, but like they changed up a bunch of stuff, and it was and then the new stuff has been awesome. So.
Yeah, the 2006, 2005.
That sounds right.
That Nova series was amazing.
#Nova Boner. Let's see. It's from Timothy on Twitter. He asks, which video game series would you like to see a comic series made of? Metroid and Infamous are his 2 choices. I would love a Metroid comic. That would be incredible.
Depending on who they had writing it.
I never read The Legend of Zelda manga. Did you ever read those, Charlie?
No, I didn't.
Nah, I never. They kind of just didn't appeal to me. They didn't look like something. I wanted some awesome like hardcore Zelda comic, and it didn't. Yeah, it didn't really click.
I guess for me, most of the time when they've tried to do comics for video games, the only time it really works for me is when it's supposed to be like a prequel, or it's like the stuff they've done at DC has been very good for Injustice and the Arkham series. But the Uncharted comic was just okay, and
that World of Warcraft comic was pretty decent.
Yeah,
it just got a little too confusing with weird plot lines and kind of fantasy jargon. But I've liked some of the graphic novels they've done as well.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a Killzone universe comic.
I think they did one. I want to say like Aspen did one, maybe.
I think I know.
Someone,
they think they did like some. I think it only had like a couple issues.
No, yeah, these all
didn't even
like they did that Last of Us prequel, which I guess the DLC is loosely based on in some fashion. So there's been a handful of comics. I mean, I'm trying to think right now. Would there be anything like kind of real current?
Oh, I mean, Injustice is still coming out.
Yeah. I stopped reading that. I read the first couple issues, but...
Well, you've stopped having wall copies, so I've stopped reading that too.
Same here.
Yeah, we've just been selling out, yeah. I should bump my orders on those. We're getting a few extra now. I'm trying to think if there's anything right now that... I mean, Titanfall could be kind of cool. I still have to play more of that. What else is coming out that'd be cool? I'd be surprised if Destiny, which is the big Bungie game coming out, I'd be really surprised if that doesn't get a comic in some fashion. Yeah. Because that seems like it'd be easily suited for it.
Well, I mean, I think it needs to... I think the trick with video game comics is like you said, Charlie, it needs to add to a prequel or add to the existing story that you've seen in the game, or it needs to build the world a little bit more?
Well, my thing is, and this is the same thing you have with any licensed property, it's very hard to do anything after the events in the game.
Yeah.
Because they could potentially do DLCs, they can potentially come out with number 2, and then you get into the contradictory stuff. So they tend to stay away from that. So what I find with a lot of properties is they just pump out a story to kind of go, well, this is really popular right now, so let's just put out a story that doesn't really matter in any form and get you to read the comic. Whereas like the Injustice comic fills in a lot of that history of the world, so it sort of enriches your enjoyment of the game.
Well, I mean, it's like games like Killzone and like God of War and World of Warcraft. It's like those types of games, even Halo to an extent, like building upon characters that you've seen, like kind of giving more origin stories, or there's so much that happens within the game or within kind of the mythos of the game that you can easily go, well, like the current Star Wars comic book is doing between, was it Star Wars and Empire?
Yeah.
Right, where they're kind of where Wood is filling in kind of some of the stuff that happened in between those movies. Where I think that's where video game comics need to be, is they need to give you something at the beginning to build up to what the game is, or kind of give you something that fills, kind of a gap in story. Or because I know from like Killzone 2 to Killzone 3, there's a lot that actually took place, but you don't actually see any of it. So that's a good kind of spacing for, and if they're talking with the creative teams on these games, they could be like,
yeah,
well,
they're always involved. Yeah,
this is where we're going. You guys deal with this stuff here. So it's like, but I mean, there's potential there. But again, it's. I mean, the sales on those. They don't necessarily sell.
I mean, it's rare that a video game comic does well these days. For a while, Tomb Raider was like one of the best selling comics every month, but not so much these days.
Yeah. How's the current Tomb Raider doing sales wise?
I saw a handful.
Okay.
So, 2 of our regulars in the forum, Kenzo and Darfox8, they have a combo question here. This is, I guess, more from Kenzo, just relayed through Darfox on Twitter, because Kenzo is a horrible person, doesn't use Twitter like every other person. He asks, why does DC hate kids and forces them to read inappropriate material like Future's End? Oh, Kenzo, you're my favorite. DC doesn't hate kids. Kids hate comics. That's the problem. Whenever there were comics like Tiny Titans or all these other
but
successful
that's coming back,
for a miniseries. I mean, whenever there are these successful kids comics from DC, about 80% of the readership are adults.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now that's not to say that kids don't read them. Clearly, kids read them. I mean, I sell them all the time, but it's not the majority. The majority of people reading these, regardless of what the book is adults. The majority of people reading Archie are adults. It's just not a kid's thing. Maybe they're too expensive. Maybe it's because kids don't know where they are. Maybe because kids don't care. We sell a lot of books to kids, but at the end of the day, we sell way more to adults. So a kid-written series is nice. I like it when they do it. They have a place. They have a market. They should do them all the time, and they do. There's Scooby-Doo. There's this awesome Scooby-Doo team-up book that's out right now where they team up with various characters from the DC animated, kind of DC animated style. They're bringing back Tiny Titans, which was a huge hit.
The Teen Titans Go comic.
They have Teen Titans Go, which has been a real big success. Scribblenauts. But again, these are by and large read by adults. So,
Well, Scribblenauts is a word heavy. Like, there's a lot of reading to do out of that book.
So, more people want to read about Frankenstein having the severed head of Black Canary strapped to his chest than they want to read about, Principal Darkseid getting you in trouble.
You've read that book, right?
Which one?
The Future's End #0?
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet.
It seemed very reminiscent of the DCU Online storyline to me.
Yeah, I can see that. It's balls to the wall crazy. Yeah. Like, it's ridiculous, and I love it. I read it, and I was like, double my order right now on #1. It's, I won't double my order on every issue, but I think people were going to buy this book just because how ridiculously crazy it is. So there's a book I'm excited for coming up. It's actually #1's this week.
Yeah,
so, very, very soon. All right.
Which means #2 will be before you know it.
Yeah, #2 will be next week. Let me see. I got at least one more question here. I thought there was one. Well, we'll talk about it more in a minute here, but here's the question. So, actually, here, we'll get to this. This is a question about Gotham. I can put this in part of that, but let's actually read another question here that we can answer. This is from Colin, who says, with new Avengers and Avengers, the multiverse incursion plot, it seems to be escalating. How much longer do you think it'll go? Do you think it'll accumulate in a big Marvel event, maybe in the fall, maybe explain or coincide with Spider-Verse? So, for people not keeping up with Avengers, including myself, because I've stopped after Infinity, but I know this plot. They've had the new Avengers, which is Doctor Strange and Mr. Fantastic and Namor, the old Illuminati guys, trying to stop these multiverses of other Marvel, of other kind of realities from. Well, there's two universes have to either both be destroyed, or you destroy one and the other kind of gets saved. So there's been all these other planets are threatening to come into the Marvel reality, right?
It's the domino effect, basically. As two universes are about to collide, the only way to stop it is to sacrifice one of the universes. Right. But that doesn't stop the chain reaction. It just delays it till another universe is on its way. And then they started making it even more complicated with it was not the builders, it was the
Yellow Legend guy?
No, there were a few things. Like there's these Adaptoid guys running around right now. And then they also, they've started to make it seem like there's other forces at play, sort of screaming out, this isn't a natural occurrence at all.
Somebody's shaking the Petri dish.
Yeah, basically.
I tried. This book is, Omar and Bryce, keep holding that torch, guys, because I gave up. It's mind-boggling. I have no idea what's going on. I can't make heads or tails of the series. Again, I felt this way during parts of Infinity, and I kind of went back and really sat down and read through them. And then I kept trying after Infinity, and no, I completely lost no interest. And he did officially announce that I guess next year he's leaving all the Avengers books. So my long nightmare is almost over. I can start reading the Avengers again because it makes no sense.
Well, I tried reading the new Avengers and the Avengers when it first came out with the all new Marvel Now, and it was, I was even kind of just like, what the heck is going on? You could barely get any information from each issue, and there was a lot of stuff to read through on those issues, but there was no information. It was kind of like, okay, something happens and these worlds are going to collide, and what? So
side note, was it Avengers Annual number 2 that came out this week, or is it? I don't know. But the issue of Avengers that came out this week, whether or not it was an annual or an actual issue, actually had Bruce Banner, Hulk find out that they brought the Illuminati back together and everything, and kind of confronted Tony, and that was actually a really good read.
It's a great idea. I like the idea behind this story, but it just doesn't.
But not 30 issues worth.
Yeah, no. you mean like 60 issues worth when you combine?
Well, when you combine
Infinity
Avengers and new
Avengers and Avengers World, and it's like, oh my god! Like every other book. The Avengers books right now are in their own universe. Those 3 titles exist, and nothing else is in the slightest bit referencing it because it's so incomprehensible and affects nothing. So they're completely ignorable if you want, which is great. But yeah, it'll probably be some big end event, but I don't think it's kind of anything to do with Spider-Verse. That seems to be that's awesome. all slot. So, which is their big crossover. Speaking of Spider-Man,
one of the things that gets me very, very excited about the Spider-Verse stuff is the fact that they're including the animated versions of Spider-Man. It's not just comics; it's everything.
They were going to have the Japanese Spider-Man version in there. That's so cool. Yeah. I would love it if they just did it like Fumetti style, where they just clips from the show and then you just drew in the character that's going around killing them all. So good. Well, speaking of Spider-Man, Spider-Verse, we got a little preview of that in this week's Free Comic Book Day selection from Marvel in that Guardians of the Galaxy book. We had Free Comic Book Day this last week.
Saturday.
Yes.
May the 3rd.
First Saturday.
It wasn't May
in
the
May.
4th. It was May the 3rd.
First Saturday in May. Every year is Free Comic Day, and we've talked about this before. Hopefully every year the last couple of years. But this year,
you really did feel prepared.
On a whole, no. To paraphrase World of Warcraft, I was not prepared. No, so in past years we've gone through, and we order a lot of books. We we're not we don't intend to give out all of them.
The past few years we've had about 5 to 6 boxes of extra in the back.
Yeah, I mean,
including stuff that you got extras of for variants that you're going to give out.
I keep kids' books around. I keep other stuff around. This year, I know I had a bunch of extra copies of Superman Unchained #1 and Uncanny Avengers 1 because I ordered for the variant. So there's a lot of extra stuff. And I ordered maybe slightly less than I normally do this year. Not by a ton, but definitely a little bit less. By 1 o'clock, we were completely out of everything from this year. By 3 o'clock, we were out of everything from every other year.
You had me pulling back issues of Archie out just
I told
get
Brock,
stuff on the kids' books.
We literally ran out of every single kid's book. I told him, grab a long box of random crap from the back from our kid overstock and just throw stuff out there because it didn't matter. It was a friggin' madhouse, open to close, basically. Mm-hmm. We had, I want to say, 50, 60 people in line by the time we opened. Yep. By about 10, 15 minutes in, I stopped counting because we were to the back of the store, probably 150 people in here within the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was hiding in the back for a while. And
yeah.
Then I snuck out.
Yeah, probably 500-600 people through the door all day. I mean, I went through the register. There was a couple times it slowed down for a few minutes, but even up to 4 or 5 o'clock, I mean, it was just...
Well, you were ringing people up for a good hour and a half straight.
I mean, from 11 to 1, nonstop.
Yeah.
Nonstop. Past that, there were a couple, there'd be a 5-minute lull here, 10-minute lull here, but it was never for more than that. And there was always 20 or 30 people in the store at the same time. It's just, we're not a very big store if you've been here. So, this year, more than any other year, proves just, and we did very minimal promotion for this. I didn't push this as hard as I have previous years, but apparently it doesn't matter. It's bigger every year, and this year's, I mean, it just shows just how big this thing's getting.
So we're going bigger next year.
Well, yeah, I mean, I totally want to. My intent next year, and say this publicly so people can hold me to it, I want to get a tent outside. A lot of stores do that, and every store I've talked to has said when you do that, it's like you never go back because it makes it so much easier. Mm-hmm. Do a nice big sale in the store, have some food, get some entertainment. We're gonna. I'm trying to get some professionals out that want to do sketches or drawing or signings. We had my girlfriend Leanne and a couple of our friends here from the store, Lane, who's been on this podcast. They were all outside doing sketches, and they thought, these aren't comic professionals. These are just fans. And they thought, maybe we'll get a couple of people. They had a line. I mean, they did 50, 60 sketches between the three
Lane
of them.
Did 8 hours worth of drawing.
Yeah, he is a beast, man. That guy drew from like 10:30 to 6:30 at night. Like, he didn't stop, for more than a few minutes to kind of shake his hand out a little.
Going, I haven't done this in a while.
Yeah, it was mad. I
didn't leave the end of the counter for like 2 hours.
Yeah, you sat there just...
I stuck there. I popped out for like 2 seconds when I needed to fix something or something fell.
Yeah, I mean...
Because there was just so many people.
Yeah, we had to basically kind of maneuver people around and get the line to go one direction and get the people here for the comics another direction. And I could have... Had I ordered 3 times as many books, we probably still would have gotten rid of half of them. Because towards the end of the day, we're throwing out just anything we could just to have something for people to take.
So, 2 questions come from this, given the fact that I haven't talked to you since Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah.
1, what percentage of people knew what they were looking for when they came in, and how many of them were just happy with whatever you had out?
I would say 80% of the people were happy to grab whatever. Yeah. I mean, definitely some people, and I'm sure the people right at the beginning of the day, they knew exactly what they wanted.
Because I mean, we opened later than a lot of the stores, so there were definitely people in line that were like, "Oh, I'm going to get what I didn't get at the other place here."
Yeah. Next year, especially if you do a sale and everything like that, no, I will open at 10 because a lot of stores here open at 10. We open at 11. Mm-hmm. So, open at the same time, maybe earlier, and really push this. Again, with the barest of minimum of effort this year, we didn't make quite as much money as we did last year, but last year we had a couple of ridiculous, not a sale in the store, but people that came in and spent some ridiculous money. So we didn't quite have that bump this year, but our transaction numbers were up, the amount of people in the store were up, the amount of books we gave away was clearly up. So, even though, and this is something that a lot of people don't realize, the free comic day books cost us money. So I went a lot lighter this year on a lot of titles. I got 0 because in the past these books have cost 15, 20, maybe 25 cents per copy, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're ordering thousands of copies, it definitely adds up. This year, every year it gets worse, it feels like, but this year especially, a lot of the books were getting 40, 45, 47 cents. I think even 1 or 2 or 50 cents. I don't order those books. I don't care what the book is. That's way too much money for a book I'm supposed to give away.
Which a lot of times isn't new content, or it's just like sketches, or it's just kind of this small little preview.
A lot of this stuff comes and it's either reprints or it's for a book that I don't actually sell in the store.
Yeah.
And I will not carry. Not that I don't want to carry the store, but it'll never sell. Like I can give away, 500 copies of Walking Dead, which we did last year, and I gave away some of the rest of them this year. And guess what? My Walking Dead numbers remain exactly the same. So Free Comic Day, despite the attempt, rarely increases sales of the books. It makes for one fucking awesome day.
Yeah. Well, the other problem is HeroClix this year was ridiculous.
I had a bunch of people asking for HeroClix. They actually had an MSRP. They were not free to give away. They would have been we would have charged for them if we had them. And it was just a promo pack. Like it was just a starter pack. I mean, it wasn't actually like an exclusive figure or anything. So
yeah, because they've done exclusive
shitty
figures for like the past 4 years, 3 years,
10 years.
Yeah.
I mean.
Since the beginning of HeroClix.
Yeah. I mean, there was years where they were doing stuff. But
there was like I think that I came when there was a gap, and then they started back up again.
Yeah,
and even then, a lot of times it was just an exclusive dial. It wasn't an exclusive sculpt.
But this year was just ridiculous, and I'm very, very excited for next year because obviously there's a lot to we can really push it and do a lot more. And I've already contacted a number of creators to try to get, if we get one person out, right, that's all you need. I mean, the amount of people that come out for signings and stuff, it's awesome. So I got a lot of hope for next year. So there you go. If anyone listening went to their Free Comic Day store locally, or I think Comixology still has their stuff up.
They had.
It was like 200
stuff, but it wasn't the same stuff.
No, they had like 200 image number ones on their site, so they did a big thing with image for Free Comic Day this year. So you can go check those.
A lot of image books number ones are free.
Yeah, but I think they pushed like every image number one. Was free.
They had their. This is the stuff that's normally free. This is the stuff that's only free today.
Okay.
It was up as of today still, so I'm not sure if it's still up. But
is there a button that says download all?
Yes, there is a add all to cart button, but I've learned not to do that.
You want to break it?
Well, no, it's just scrolling through the list of titles after that Marvel 700 thing.
Jeez.
I didn't quite do the 700, but there's a lot of titles I'm like, once you've added them, I couldn't find an easy way to remove them.
Oh, God.
So...
what else we got? Now that Toby's back, we got maybe 1 or 2 things here we could talk about. Of course, we're going to be bringing you a special episode of the Eat Box as Toby is devouring some of his food here, but maybe between breaths he can come up for air. And
are we going to talk some Gotham?
Gotham? Well, yeah, that's one of the things I was going to say.
Ooh.
So we got a question here. I should read it, and this can start it. This is from Mike. He says, with the Gotham trailer out, what shows are you looking forward to more, Gotham or Flash, based on bias on Arrow, but as a show for Flash? I'm not reading what he's saying properly.
I'm guessing he basically means because Flash is being done by the same people who do Arrow.
Yeah.
Are you more excited for Flash or Gotham?
Yeah.
So we knew Gotham was coming. They've talked about this. We've seen a lot of the characters and a lot of the casting and some footage from it, stills and everything. But the 10 minutes before we were getting ready to record the podcast, they dropped the full trailer.
They dropped the 48-second trailer. And then they dropped the 2-minute trailer.
Yeah. We got a brief trailer, a minute trailer, and then the 2-minute extended cut right afterwards. And holy crap, this trailer looks friggin' amazing. There was, spoilers for a trailer they just put up, I guess. I don't know. Again, I have watched my one trailer. I probably don't need to see anything else about this show. I'm ready for September. Well, you know what I mean. I am ready for September. So, if there's more to this, I'll check out after today. But, we have young Bruce Wayne. We have Commissioner Gordon. Both of those look fine. They look good to me. I'm clearly we'll see what's going on with the show as it goes on. But, I would expect
Harvey Bullock.
Well,
awesome.
I would kind of expect Bruce to not be in every episode of this show. Yeah. It feels like a good start, and bring him in occasionally, but I don't feel like he's going to be in the whole show.
Well, I think from what I've heard and from what I've seen, in the stills and what I've seen now with the trailer, is that they're taking it from Gordon's beginnings.
Yeah, Gordon is...
And Gordon's the one that's going to be driving this show.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the show originally called Gordon? I have some vague recollection of them pitching a Toby shaking his head. I have a vague recollection of them pitching a Gordon show, and then at some point I heard Gotham is the official title. So maybe they just didn't actually have a name for it at first.
No, I've always remembered the pitch as Gotham.
Okay. But yeah, Gordon is the main character in the show.
Yeah.
Harvey Bullock is in there.
Is going to steal the show.
So he looks great.
I'm calling that now.
Then they do a quick shot of 4 characters, and they're using the little before tag. So we have before Penguin. Mm-hmm. They show Oswald Cobblepot. A little bit taller. He's still goofy looking, but not a little short fat guy that wobbles. And he's definitely kind of, he doesn't look like a weird cartoon character. He looks more like a traditional person. Sure. They had before Catwoman. So Selena Kyle is a young. Probably the same age as Bruce. It looks like she's supposed to be.
I think she's supposed to be a little older.
Like a year or two older.
Yeah.
Which is fine. She's got the goggles though, which is cool.
Yes.
They had before Riddler, which I had no idea. I have no recollection of them ever saying Edward Nygma was going to be on the show. So that's awesome. And he looks. Again, we have no context for what this guy is going to be doing. It's one quick shot of him, but he looks pretty cool. He just looks like a guy, but I could see that. And then. Who else do we have?
Poison
Ivy.
Poison Ivy. And she's like a little kid, too.
Yeah.
And it looks like she's maybe in some sort of psychiatric ward or some sort of hospital. She didn't look like she was just out somewhere. It looked like she was in some kind of room. She's got that hospital kind of clothes looking on, and she's with the plants and everything. So a little early day Pamela Isley.
A female character in red that we didn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that's supposed to be. Maybe it's supposed to be it's an Asian woman with red streaks in her hair. I don't know if that's supposed to be a character or if this is sort of just a new person they're bringing in the show. But
all of a sudden I'm just picturing Red Claw.
Red Claw. Could be. Yeah. It could be. I have no idea. But it looks great. The music looks great. All the actors look great. Again, we're going off a 2-minute trailer here, and trailers always look awesome. But this does look great. Now, am I more excited for this or Flash? Rumor is the Flash trailer is during the Arrow finale, which would make sense. I love Batman, but man, I want to see a Flash TV. You could do Batman. Batman's easy. Everyone can do Batman. Batman is great, and everyone loves Batman.
Not everyone can do Batman.
Most people can do Batman.
Joel Schumacher.
Most people. Oh, we'll talk about Joel Schumacher later. Most people could do Batman. However, Flash, that I'm still looking forward to Flash more because that's the bigger risk. That's the more challenging.
I think you're more excited for the Rogues Gallery than you are about actually having Flash.
Yeah. I'm excited for Batman's Rogues Gallery too, but I'm very excited for a Flash TV show. I really want to see where they're going to go with this because to me, having the powers is the challenge. Batman is an easier translation to TV and film. When you get to the powers, that's when it starts to get much more difficult. So, I want them all to be awesome, but I got to put money with Barry, man. I got to go with Flash.
So for me, it's pretty much whatever one's going to premiere first, technically. But no, right now I'm a little more hyped for the Flash just because the Gotham show, while I'm very, very excited for the pilot. I'm wondering how the overall show is going to feel from year to year, as a sense, just because with the Flash show, I'm getting the Flash. With the Gotham show, I'm getting a police procedural set in Gotham, which is fine.
You're also getting...
I'm excited for that, but it's going to be the nods to the mythology that's really going to get me excited, and I don't think they're going to be able to lay that on as thick because of the time period and all that. Like, I see them being able to delve more into sort of the gangster mythology within Gotham rather than the rogues gallery.
Well, with Gotham, it's also, I mean, depending on how the show goes, if it's following James, that's fine, but if we're following Bruce at the same time, there's going to be a separation where Bruce, is no longer tied to...
I'm seriously expecting by the end, probably he'll be around a lot in season 1. And at the end of season 1, he will probably vanish from the show to go training, to return periodically.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
that's they should do. Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think Gotham has a chance to be just. I mean, this could be the start of it. I mean, obviously Arrow is successful, but Arrow's not the biggest show on TV by any stretch of the imagination. It does well for CW, but it's not.
Yeah, I was going to say if Arrow was on another network getting the ratings it was on CW, it would end up getting canceled.
Yeah, sure.
And
Gotham could be the big one. That really could be the big one. And I like that they're willing to take multiple shows, multiple risks. Kind of go from different ways. So
I also kind of like that because you are setting it in a particular time period. It doesn't necessarily have to be separated from what would be considered a TV DC universe. Like, I don't expect them to acknowledge Arrow on Gotham or Gotham on Arrow.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact that because Gotham's a little more in the past, they could technically exist together, which is kind of cool.
If they wanted to flash forward or something like that. Yeah. Now, Toby, can you breathe for a second? Still chewing? Okay, we'll give you a second here. Hold on. He's almost done, folks. He's almost done. That falafel's not going to eat itself. Go for it, Brock. What do you want to say?
Oh, just with Gotham, it really feels like we're going to get more of a Gotham Central feel to it, which I'm excited for because, I mean, after reading Gotham Central, I was like, this should be a TV show.
Is Montoya in Gotham? Did they show her? Do we have any reason to believe she's in the show?
No, I don't think so. But
I haven't heard anything,
I'm just
now I want it.
Well, I want that too, but there's a large part of me that's just like, I would really love it if they did a episode with the Spectre.
Yeah. Oh. James Corrigan.
Well, the thing is, I mean, Gotham has the ability.
Awesome.
Yes,
Gotham has the
would.
ability to go from being what it is, Gotham, to it splitting off into. This could just be. They could say, "Oh, this is the mythos for the Batman in the movie universe."
Well, yeah,
and then if the show ends, they can take the show now and go, "We're doing Gotham Central as a TV show, so we're just focusing on all the crime stuff." So it's like so they can utilize it that way. So that the show has the ability to transition into another show. Toby, you're breathing.
Hello.
Is that Gotham trailer? Did you watch the 2-minute one?
Yes.
Oh, what do you think?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Although, I've been burned before by Birds of Prey, so that trailer was fantastic too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And it has a similar feel to it. So I'll wait and see.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think no tights is the right way to go about this show.
I mean, I'm a Batman family kind of guy, and looks like they're gonna tie into some of the other stuff. So I'm all for this. So
when does Haley Circus pull in for the first time?
Second season.
Should be.
Inject some new life. No, probably 10th season.
Well,
they probably have to have Bruce.
I mean, the circus was there. Probably
no tragedy.
Richard. No Richard being born. That'd be kind of weird.
It could be his parents, but younger.
Yeah, but no, I'm fairly excited for this, and they could do a time jump, which they have alluded to in Arrow that could be a possibility with that they might do a 5-year jump next year. That the little kid might be around.
Yeah.
So I mean, on Gotham, if they want, and it's cool, they could do it this way. And then if they want to do a time jump later, they can. So, I mean, I'm all for it. Either way, I'm in.
I'd be curious if they try to kind of bring in Ra's al Ghul and kind of seed some of the stuff from the movies if they want to tease it in that direction.
They could just do younger versions of like all his kids.
Well, I'm actually just still think about the Haley Circus stuff just because you could still do the gangster shakedown stuff and everything and sort of lay that groundwork. Like they could do some really
the beauty of this show is that you know the Batman movies already exist. So if they want to plant the seeds in this, just for Easter eggs, it could work, right?
Yeah.
Now, watching Arrow, when John Barrowman was, one of the League of Assassins guys, I was like, oh man! I immediately went to watch Batman Begins again, hoping just his head would be in the back, and of course it's not, but part of me was hoping it was
digitally edited him in.
Yeah,
scene. Yeah, that'd be great. No, we're going to talk Spider-Man 2 here, but we're going to talk big spoilers for that. So I'm going to push that to the end of the episode. So I figure is now best time to talk about Toby's comic book club, our Comic Conspiracy book club of the month pick. Toby, you ready?
Sure.
You ready? Why don't you introduce your book to us?
Oh.
And the listeners.
It is University Squared by Frank Cho. It is a book that Frank Cho did in college for his college paper. I believe it was done in like 94, if I'm not mistaken.
Sounds right.
Yeah, 94.
It's a series of comic strips.
Yeah, 94.
I know they've collected it. I mean, it's been collected for years. But
it's been collected for years. I mean, it even went out of print for a while, too. It was actually kind of a rare book for a while there, and then it came back into print under a different publisher, or maybe the same, but it was gone for a while. I first picked up this book not knowing who Frank Cho is, because at that time he was already doing Liberty Meadows and some other stuff, but none of the Marvel or any of the big things that he's doing now. I was still working at the other comic book shop, and I loved it. I mean, I just loved it. I flipped through it and it made me laugh out loud, and no other book at the time was doing that. I mean, I loved books, but, nothing made me laugh like this one did. So it held a special place in my heart. And then, I read Liberty Meadows, and I thought it was like a redux of this book. Like, some of the same strips are actually redone in Liberty Meadows. Some of the characters are kind of refought, kind of like... It's almost like he stepped away and kind of learned what he wants to do with this. And, the characters are more refined. His art improved in Liberty Meadows big time. He really kind of, worked out his kinks, basically.
What's, oh, God, I'm totally blanking the main guy's name now. He's the one that gets the most dramatic change.
Ralph?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Bean.
Yeah.
The Bean does, because I want to say the Bean becomes a frog.
Well, and the duck guy becomes the human.
Oh yeah.
Her fiance.
And then there's a little duckling.
The main book.
Yeah. There's a little duckling.
And then bring back the duck. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some changes. But I like this book better just because it felt more raw. It's almost like, sometimes I feel like the things you do first feel the most right. Like, so I kind of look at it this way, that this is just raw Frank Cho going, this is kind of what I want to do, and just kind of let it all out. And then he started thinking about it, I go, maybe I shouldn't do it this way, and refine this. And then when I reread it, though, I was kind of funny, because I felt like, some of this stuff is actually pretty offensive. But, when I read it the first time, I didn't think any of that. I just enjoyed the book quite a bit, So, yeah, no, I really dig this book, so...
Charlie, want to go around?
Sure.
Start us off.
So, yes, this was actually very different for me to read than previous book club picks, and just in general, because I used to be very into sort of like the comic strip comics, and then even like the daily web comics and that kind of stuff. That's the same kind of thing where you kind of have your limited number of panels and you get to that sort of like punchline, and some of the stuff in here amused me quite a bit. A lot of it I didn't grab me as much as other stuff would have, and it was one of those things, because I'm not accustomed to reading stuff this way anymore, it was a little jarring that way. A lot of the art was nice. I liked a lot of the sort of breaking of the fourth wall. I liked that every once in a while a panel would come up talking about how Frank Cho is too busy to work on a strip this week due to schoolwork. And
I want to jump in here for a second, because there's a great one where it's just a giant monkey. Is that, Toby, do you know, is that the start of him being a monkey? Do you know what the origin of that is?
No, I don't actually, but it could be.
For people that don't know Frank Cho, especially for Liberty Meadows, he has a gag where whenever he draws himself, he draws a monkey. And it's always him as a monkey. And so there's a strip in here where it's one of these things where it's just Frank Cho saying, "Oh, I can't draw the strip this week. Here's a picture of a monkey," and I'm like, I wonder if that's where that started.
It could quite be, yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciated some of the sort of breaking the fourth wall, especially just because it does sort of remind you exactly where these were printed, how they were printed, and yeah, it had a lot of fun, pretty crude humor at parts and that kind of stuff. It did make me want to check out Liberty Meadows more just because I could. The Frank Cho I know has a much more refined art style at this point. Like the stuff that I've read from him nowadays with his bigger and better stuff, as Toby has said it, not that I put it that way, but has a much more refined look to it. And I was kind of reading this where I could see his art in it still, but it made me kind of, every once in a while I'll come across something I'm like, I would love them to just go back and redo this now that they have more practice and have refined their craft. And this is one of those.
Well, this is kind of what Liberty Meadows really is. Yeah. I mean, some of the panels are identical. I mean, if you read early Liberty Meadows, it's some of the same stories are redone. Like it's a redux almost from this.
So it did make me interested in reading Liberty Meadows, and it's definitely something I will keep my eye out for in terms of bargains. Like if they show up in the used trades, let me know. But yeah, I think I'd give it 6 out of 10 Tobies. Yeah.
There you go. So I read Liberty Meadows when it was first coming out in the comic format because it was in newspapers, and then Image. Well, it wasn't Image at first. I don't remember. It was his company put out the comic book versions where they would collect the strips into that. And I remember when it first came out, kind of like what Toby said in previous episodes. That sort of the difference in his art between the funny animal and like the beautiful woman. Like it's a great contrast, and it was definitely a really eye-catching series when it came out. And then Image picked it up, and it kind of blew up after that. I read Liberty Meadows, every issue when it came out. I don't think I ever finished it because it started coming out on such a weird schedule. It wasn't regular, and at that point he had stopped doing the strip, and I think he stopped doing the strip entirely and was only publishing the comic.
Yeah,
because I think they dropped the strip at some point.
Yeah, no, at some point I want to say there was like a soft reboot.
Yeah.
Where it went to the comic book completely.
Yeah. And I don't know if I've read any really that stuff or past it, but when this was coming out, when Liberty Meadows was coming out, University Squared got at that point, I guess, printed for the first time or reprinted or whatever in a trade form, and I did read this then, and so it was good to kind of go back and read through a bunch of the strips again. Remind me, and yeah, I know what Toby said. This is. If you like Liberty Meadows, if you like Frank Cho's current stuff, this is his start. This is where it all comes from, and it's fun. It's it's not as clean, it's not as polished, but that's the point of it. It's not supposed to be. It's I wouldn't want to see it redone as a counter to Charlie, only because, like Toby said, it kind of has been redone in Liberty Meadows. This type of stuff this is that punk rock first album that they did, in their garage. This is just where it all started. So, but you could still see. Brandy's still pretty much the same, the main character. I mean, her personality's a little bit different, but you see where it comes from. You see the setup. A lot of the same jokes go. The chauvinistic pig, quote, no pun intended, or pun fully intended, I should say. And a lot of the characters remain when they go into Liberty Meadows. And yeah, I mean, I think this is a great series and definitely worth reading, especially if you like, kind of comic strip humor. And if you like Frank Cho's art, I mean, you got to start here. So, no, this definitely gets I'll give it 8 out of 10 Tobies.
So, I haven't ever actually read Liberty Meadows. I've just seen Frank Cho artwork, through the years and stuff on random comic books and stuff. But I read through it, and it being a comic strip, and my experience with comic strips was always like Garfield and Calvin and Hobbes and stuff like that. So.
Well, those are pretty different comic strips.
Well, I know.
I like those also.
Yeah,
actually, the Peanuts, the Garfield, the Calvin.
I need to get that.
Calvin and Hobbes is one of my favorites of all time.
I need to get that nice collection of the Calvin and Hobbes ones.
No, I don't know if I like those. I think they're too fake. I know Charlie likes the giant hardcovers, but I kind of like the thinner trades actually of those.
But I mean, it was entertaining. It was funny. a lot of the jokes and stuff is from, you know, a lot of college movies and, you know, kind of augmentations on some of those, you know, kind of humoristic things.
I mean, that's where he was at the time.
That's the thing
and the first time I picked up this book, too, was basically out of high school. First time kind of like, you know, all the drinking jokes are making sense, or, you know, all of that stuff is, it's there. I understand it all. So it was like a right timing for this book to be in my hands.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a great book for somebody who's, you know, just getting into college or, you know, in high school, kind of, you know, wanting to read something that they, you know, that's a little more, that they're, you know, at a place that they're going to be soon. Reading it as, you know, somebody who's far removed from college and been there and done that, it's, you know, a lot of it is, that's funny. That's how it is. But I can see why, you know, you would laugh out loud reading it, you know, at that age range.
Yeah.
You know, again, like knowing Frank Cho's art style now and seeing this, his art has definitely improved over the years. He's found his groove. But yeah, I mean, he does really well. You know, like each strip to each strip, it's, you know, like I kept thinking to myself, you know, it would have been great to read this, you know, I don't know if it was a daily strip or if it was a bi-weekly strip or whatever, but you know,
it was a college paper at the time.
Yeah, I mean, if going to college and reading this from, you know, my college paper, I would have been, you know, every week or however often it was coming out, I would have been reading it, because it does grab your attention. But yeah, I mean, it does, you know, pique my interest a little bit to read Liberty Meadows.
Liberty Meadows is a lot more refined. It's more for everybody. This is definitely more like college, paperish college style. And like I said, that's the mind, where his mind was. Like a lot of artists, you know, you take what a time it was in their life, and the stuff they come out with is very interesting to timeline too. So that's, you know, basically his time, what was in his head. And, you know, as he redid it as Liberty Meadows, it's, you know, he grew up a little bit and then refined it that way. So, I mean, it's the same in music and stuff like that. You know? Yeah.
No, I mean, I enjoyed reading it. You know, I read through and enjoyed it. You know, the characters were funny. You know, the you know, having beer all the time, and then it was just, you know, being a kid who grew up in the 90s. You know, seeing those you know, the Calvin and Klein spoofs and like the time period things where he's kind of making fun of what's going on in the time era and stuff like that. You know, the lingerie or the swimsuit strips where it's like, hey, check out this, and it's like, okay. And then I think the most offensive one was the scratch and sniff. Scratch and sniff one, which I laughed at that one. I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. So.
I also told you to pick where to scratch and sniff.
Yeah.
What's your score, Brock?
I'd probably have to give it 6 out of 10 Tobys. Just because for me, reading it now, a lot of it's jokes that I've seen numerous times before, but I still enjoyed reading it, and I would recommend reading it. It's just, you know, it's just fun. So,
Toby, you want to give us your little review of it now?
Well, wow. At the time, it was definitely a 10 out of 10 book, because I just flat out loved this book, because it's almost a tailor-made book for me, because I like funny animals, and at the time, there were funny drinking animals. So, and it had beautiful women, and it had jokes, and I love the contrast. I like the whole Brandy little animal contrast, and them just being so nuts and so out there to a somewhat, like, fairly normal woman, you know? I mean, yeah, they over-sexualize and all that stuff, but she was very, you know, her stature in the book was very, what's going on? No, this, that. And then all the animals were just kind of the nutty things around it. So I kind of like that contrast a lot, just in general. So, I mean, now probably is an 8 out of 10 book for me, but still, that's one of my gems in my collection that I really enjoy and probably won't let go.
Excellent.
Well, I mean, I think that, back to what you're saying, like when you read it, 10 out of 10, and now it's an 8 out of 10.
Well, it's just, you know, time has passed, you know, I'm older now too, you know, the jokes maybe not as funny as they were back then, but...
Well, it's also, like, for me, I mean, I equate it to, like, I didn't actually watch a lot of those John Hughes movies until I was well out of, like, until after I graduated high school.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, to me, it's like watching those things after the fact. It was kind of like, I mean, I want to sit down with my son and watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off when he's in 8th grade.
No.
Right? So it's like it's kind of like there's just like this book needs to be presented at a certain time for the impact to be a little bit more, to have a better impact on you. Having it after the fact, because like watching all those John Hughes movies after the fact, I'm kind of like, okay, detention might have been cool at some point, right?
I'm not with you there because I watch a lot of those after the fact.
But
they're fantastic.
I think what Brock's saying has to do with the fact that
the impact
when you
in your life
find
might be
them
bigger.
in the right time, they kind of imprint themselves on you because of when you saw them.
Yeah.
That instantly elevates them to a degree when you go back to look at them nowadays. I mean, I choose to believe that if He-Man got created nowadays and you tried to watch it for the first time, you probably wouldn't be collecting the figures.
Huh.
I think it would be something different if it's created now.
Well, yeah, but it's just one of those things where there is a certain amount of appreciation for something when you find it at just the right time for you.
Yeah.
So in order to keep this episode not too ridiculously long, we're gonna wrap up our talk here of this. We're actually gonna announce Charlie's pick. We're gonna go to all the end of credit stuff, and then we're gonna run the music, and then we're gonna come back after a short break and talk about Amazing Spider-Man 2, putting the spoilers well behind spoiler walls, so no one's gonna get spoiled if they don't want to. Charlie, why don't you announce your pick for the month of May? Sorry, we're a week late on this too, guys, but hopefully you guys get a chance to read his pick.
My pick for the month of May, I had to go with an Alex Ross, so I chose the Justice miniseries that he did.
12-issue miniseries.
So, Mitchell, you should be getting that later this week.
Yes. Nice 12-issue miniseries. It exists in multiple formats at this point.
I was wondering how long it would take you to pick an Alex Ross book, actually, because I was kind of mildly surprised that it would.
Well, Ryan wouldn't let me pick a future book, so...
Yes. So, Justice. This is just called Justice. You find it. It's pretty easy to get. Yeah. So, still in print. So,
I think... thank you, Charlie, for picking this, because I think it's been on my random DC stuff I still need to read list. So
I just keep staring at my Absolute going, I need to crack open that Absolute and reread it.
All right, so we're going to do some outros here, then we'll be back, talk about Spider-Man 2. But this has been The Comic Conspiracy, episode 157. You can find this episode and all our other episodes at geekbox.net or comicsconspiracy.biz. Go on forums.geekbox.net and talk to us on there, or the Facebook group for the Geekbox, which is... I think it's just Facebook /group /Geekbox, maybe. I don't remember how they
just
how they
look
have
up
it.
Geekbox.
Yeah, look up Geekbox. It's an open group. We add you in every time, so I always add people all day long.
I create fake accounts just to do that.
Sweet. The Comic Conspiracy at geekbox.net is our email address if you want to send some emails. You can follow us all on Twitter. I'm Ryan Higgins Ryan. Brock is Brock Sager. Toby is Toby XI. Charlie is Insanity and Chaos. Go follow us. You can send some questions.
Our rotating Marvel lovers are...
Bryce is Larson Bryce, and Omar is Comics and Dakine. So go add them as well. I've got this in the Geek Box. Brock's got conspiratorbrock.com where he does his picks and his video picks. Charlie's got the Infinite Long Box podcast and The Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension, his Doctor Who podcast. Go search for those guys. Wanderinfourd.com.
That's right.
Is the website there. Omar's got comicsandthekine.com as well. That's his blog. So we'll let you guys go here. And if you want to stick around for our Amazing Spider-Man 2 spoiler talk, stick through our awesome little end theme song here, and we'll get right to it.
And don't forget to buy your comics digitally through us.
Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz, exactly.
And
go
we
find that.
love doing mail order comics.
We do. We just added a new subscriber today, which is awesome. So if you want to mail order your comics from us.
If you live in the middle of nowhere, if you hate
you could also mail order a Brock. He would come
I
packaged.
package up all those boxes with
we do
care.
single. If you want one comic, we'll ship it to you. If you want an absolute or a handful of trades, we'll ship those. If you want a monthly subscription to comics, we'll ship you those. We'll ship you anything you want that we can get our hands on legally. So there you go.
Everybody should order Absolute Justice from Ryan.
Is that in print?
It better be, damn it.
At least the regular trade's in print. So, all right, stick around for our Spidey talk. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Spidey spoilies.
And we're back. for some spoiler talk for Amazing Spider-Man #2. Brock, you can go home if you want. You didn't see the movie.
So?
You got stuff to talk about?
Yeah.
All right. Don't talk.
Shh. It's okay.
Now, if you guys remember when Spider-Man 1 came out, I was not a fan.
The first Spider-Man or the first Amazing Spider-Man?
Amazing Spider-Man #1.
You have to separate the two.
Amazing Spider-Man #1. I think I was kind of the only person here that really didn't like it. I think, Brock, you kind of liked it.
It was okay. I mean, I wasn't impressed with kind of how they finished. They did the lizard. It was a little weak to me. I love Dennis Leary.
Well,
he was amazing.
Yeah. So for this one, I saw it. Brock, you didn't see it yet, but Toby and Charlie.
I've heard enough about it.
Yeah. So, do you guys want to start? Do you want me to start? Where should we talk?
Let's start on the positive. Toby,
you want to talk spoilers? Toby doesn't want to talk about it. He's mad at me because I hate this movie. It's bad. It was fucking terrible.
I tried, people. I tried.
It wasn't as bad as the first one. Okay, the first one was an F. This is a D. There were a couple redeeming factors in this movie, but not many. Now, okay.
What?
Here is the things I liked about this movie, and we can get in the plot and stuff in a little bit. I again like the first movie. I like Andrew Garfield. I think he's a great Spider-Man. Very funny, lots of quips. I liked all this.
He's not bad.
He does a good job. He's good as Peter Parker as well, but I like him a lot as Spider-Man. Emma Stone as
Gwen Stacy.
Gwen Stacy, thank you. Almost said Gwen Stefani, I think.
Stefani.
I like her. Again,
I really do wonder what movie you saw.
She does a great job.
When then Gwen Stefani came into the movie, she did a song and dance.
So
then she died.
She, again, like the first movie, a lot of her scenes were pretty good. I don't think she did a bad job. I think the plot and the plot and the movie was just awful. Now, the one scene that I thought was the big redeeming factor for the movie, I think the opening scene was awesome. The movie opens with Peter Parker's parents. We were hinted at in the first movie that they've done something and that they've worked with against Oscorp and they've done all these different things. But now we actually can kind of get to see how they die. It's this whole introduction episode or whole introduction scene where they're on a plane and they kind of fight back. Richard Parker, fights back against the guy that's trying to kill him. He gets rid of that guy, kind of some James Bondian fight scene in this plane. But at the end, he succeeds in sending this mysterious message. It's the final thing they need to do. This is all the secrets will be revealed. They hit send. If finally the last message gets sent out for all these big things, and then their plane crashes and they die. And I was like, okay, we're off to a pretty damn good start here. And then the rest of the movie happens. There actually is one more scene I really liked. I actually really liked the first fight scene with Electro. They fight in the middle of Central Times Square. Big fight scene with Electro. I thought there was a pretty cool use of that kind of Matrix bullet time where you see the Spidey sense and he's looking at all these different things and it focuses in on a number of things and then it starts back up again and then you see him react to these things. So he's grabbing people so they're not getting electrocuted. He's doing all these great flips. So, that is a fantastic fight scene. I really liked it. And actually it starts great too because he doesn't just go in and fight Electro. He's like, hey guys, cops, back off, dude. Let's talk. Hey, what are you doing? He really kind of communicates with the guy. He's not just throwing punches. It was a great scene. I thought the rest of the movie was either boring or insultingly bad, and it just plummets downhill after that. And you guys could talk about what you liked or what you didn't like, but I've got a laundry list of stuff I hated about this movie.
I'm gonna let Toby go. Okay, then I'll go.
Defend yourself, Toby. I'm not mad if you like it. You don't have to be mad if I didn't like it. I just want to hear because I'm not seeing it with this movie, man. I'm not. I didn't see it with the first one either. But whatever. Tell me what you liked about it. I want to hear because because I guarantee you, fucking 20 billion people saw this movie, and obviously a lot of them like it. So So you're on the majority side, Toby. Trust me. I'm not going to make fun of you or laugh at you or anything. Tell us what you liked about it, because maybe you'll say something that I didn't notice. But go, Charlie.
Okay. So just to get it out of the way, I had trouble watching any scene with Electro.
Yeah.
Before he was Electro or after he was Electro, every single scene.
He's terrible.
Just
the fight scene. I like the scene. I like that fight scene. Yeah. But he is awful.
When he doesn't really have any dialogue and he's just throwing punches?
Just the characterization and everything of the way they handled that character was just so bad. And
I heard a lot of people saying it was, I mean, you had said this, it was a lot like, Riddler and Poison Ivy and stuff from the Schumacher movies, where it's like, it's this nerdy scientist.
They over-dramatize.
I was going to get to it.
In those movies, they over-dramatize the sort of eccentricity kind of thing, but I don't feel like they necessarily butchered who the characters were. Mm-hmm. This, every single scene with Max Dillon before Electro or even after he became Electro, I have no recollection. There was nothing really good about his portrayal of that character.
I have no recollection of Max Dillon being a bumbling psychopath with multiple personality, but a complete idiot. Like the smartest guy in the room and also a complete idiot. Like this, I mean, he's kind of just a dick. Like he's always just kind of like this jerk, kind of, and not a scientist. Like this is a very bizarre characterization of Electro in this, and like what Brock said, the complete over the top nature of who he was before he becomes Electro, and then when he gets the powers, it feels so much like the Joel Schumacher movies of the Batman. The third and fourth Batman movies, where he's a scientist, bumbling scientist. It's all fucking over the top and goofy, and an accident happens in the main place.
Oh, and the accident in this movie was so.
Yeah,
I love the fact that he calls in and be like, "I need you to shut off the power." Nope, I'm leaving.
Well, and he falls into this vat of electric eels apparently, and they bite him and give him these powers, and it's just like. It's got that electric blue strobe and neon lights. It's got all that same fucking shit that's in the Schumacher Batman movies. It just made me. By that point I was like, oh god, oh my god. And I have to bring it up. Since we're talking about Electro, and then Toby could talk about this in a second. What the fuck is with the music in this movie, especially the music with Electro? Did you actually hear the music that they play when he's in the scene? There's scenes where he's talking, and it's like, in the background is this weird music going like, hate you, kill you, crush you, destroy you, despise you. I'm like, is someone in the theater, like, is there a ringtone going off? What the fuck is this?
Somebody's listening to their Shazam app.
It's the most bizarre thing, and every time he's there, he has these, like, multiple personalities in his head telling him, like, oh, Spider-Man killed you, hate you, destroy you, crush you. I was like, what in the hell is going on in this scene? It was the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. The rest of the movie is all terrible pop, indie rock shit with Peter lying on his bed looking at pictures of Gwen and crying to himself. So that's bad on another level. But the music with Electro was mind-bogglingly. It's awful. It's terrible. I have no idea what they were trying to accomplish with that.
So, removing Electro from it, and this is something that got under my skin in the first movie and will continue to get under my skin every time they do it. My feeling for Peter Parker and the way he was raised and everything, like he had a loving household. Like, yes, he may have always had some questions about his parents, but he never seemed that haunted by it because he had sort of these strong role models in his life. He didn't come across as tortured at all, even though he was orphaned. And that's one of those like big contrasts to like Batman and all these other characters that are so fully defined by how they were orphaned that never really defined Peter Parker for me. Yet
his parents
focus so much on it in these movies.
His parents is not the reason he becomes a hero. It's the death of Uncle Ben is the reason. His parents were not even they were not even a part of his origin when he came up. So the fact in this movie, right, as Charlie was saying, so they take this briefcase, not a briefcase, like a satchel or whatever, that he's obsessed with, to the point of it's this cliched scene of him putting up maps and pictures and on the wall, and he's writing these giant just stories to himself. Just really, what do they call it when I'm totally blanking on the word now. When you're talking to the audience and explaining things to them,
exposition.
These horrible exposition pieces of paper on the wall talking about the stuff with his parents, and he's drawing lines and maps and connecting dots and shit. It's like, oh my god, this is a cliche as hell. And then so all this, he's like, well, I'm going to finally figure out what happened to my parents. And we get a scene where he goes into this mysterious. It's like plot number 17 of the movie, by the way.
And this is something Toby was talking about after the movie a little bit. There's a scene in the trailer that makes it seem like Harry asks him why Oscorp is so interested in him, that doesn't appear in the actual movie.
Yeah.
If they had used that as a reason for him to look into what his father was doing and that kind of stuff, I would have been fine with it, because yes, there have been times in the comic books and in other forms where somebody else comes into play, causing him to question who his parents really were, and that's when he went searching for the answers. And that kind of thing wouldn't have bothered me at all. If they had done the opening of the movie, Peter was fine until he got pushed by Harry basically saying, what were your parents doing for Oscorp? Why do they have you under surveillance? Like, that would have made complete sense to my head with the way Peter Parker is.
No, he just whines back and forth about it for half the movie and can't make up his mind what he wants to do. But then he finally... I gotta go off about this. This is one of the worst parts of the movie. He finally figures out the secret lab that his dad had, which was...
How the hell did his dad build that under the city?
Again,
that's just what I wanted.
Joel Schumacher, did you direct this movie and just didn't get credit? It's this trolley cart underneath this abandoned subway. So it's like an old subway system that was hidden.
Well, they had to recycle the same sets from the first movie.
Well, so he goes down to this, and he figures out through all this random way. He figures a way to get this cart that comes up from underneath the tracks, and it's like this whole system that was hidden away from everyone. So it was like, okay. It's like, all right, well, we're finally going to figure out what the Parkers were trying to send, this devastating thing that's going to take down Oscorp that they literally died for, right? So we finally get it, and he downloads this video that his father had sent, 10 years earlier. And it was a video of...
which his father and mother were desperate to make sure got sent.
Yeah, so this is like, you're set up at the beginning of this movie of like, this is going to take down Norman Osborn, and this is going to be... And so what we are shown is a video that his dad made in the basement saying, yep, I'm scared for my life. Osborn is out to get me. He's using all my shit. Peter, I love you. The end. And then, besides being like, okay, like we already know that. Maybe Peter doesn't, but Peter thinks his dad doesn't love him, and that's why he left. So it's bad on that level. But what's even worse is that he doesn't fucking do anything with this. He has video of his dad saying, Norman Osborn set me up, Norman Osborn's trying to kill me. And then it's never mentioned again. He doesn't take this secret lab to the police. He doesn't do anything with it. It just disappears, and he never mentioned it again in the movie. Well, what the fuck was the point of this? He spends literally 20 minutes of the movie trying to find this thing, and when he gets there, he has this whole loving scene with his dad, and it's like, okay, well, your dad loved you, obviously, because he's your dad, and okay, this is what we were trying to get to, and then he never does anything with it.
I think the only point of that was to say that the spiders and the venom and all that would only work on Peter.
But why wouldn't... He has video of his dad admitting that that Norman Osborn is trying to kill him.
I'm not arguing with you there. Especially considering the allegations against his dad and everything, it makes complete sense that he should have tried to clear his dad's name with it.
Yeah,
but
he doesn't do anything with it. He's like, oh, my dad loves me, hooray. And then he leaves. What? Why would you ever go back to this? Why would you just leave this and never go back to it? So this is around halfway through the movies, and with Norman Osborn finally shows up in this movie. Like, we've had maybe 5 or 6 minutes of Electro at this point. That's it. And then Norman and Harry show up, and Norman dies, apparently. And Harry's running around, and he's like, hey, I love you, Peter Parker. Oh, wait, except I don't now, and I'm going to take a serum and then show up at the very end of the movie for a minute or two. What?
Was a mask talking to him?
Well,
no, nothing like that.
My only big problem with that had to do with the fact that he had no... So his dad died. His dad died from a genetic disease that...
His dad, who he hates.
Yeah. From genetic disease that he has. Yet, for some reason, seems like it's going to kill him a hell of a lot quicker than it did his dad.
Yeah, it kills him in the course of like 45 or like 30 minutes of the movie, where his dad lived to be. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, you have this disease, and 2 seconds later, you got a thing on his neck, and then he was fucking deformed and almost dead 5 minutes later. Yeah. Yes, I don't know what to do with that was.
The pacing on that like really threw me, because they were trying to build up this whole sense of, if you don't help me right now, I'm going to die, when he should have a lot longer to survive, meaning you shouldn't have had that same sense of urgency.
Yeah. Well, then asshole board member figures out a way to wrestle Oscorp from Harry, and then...
Which, again, that's the kind of crap that I never quite understand. Like, it's the whole idea of... Okay, so Harry's put in charge of Oscorp because he's an
he's the son. He's the heir. Yeah.
He's the heir. He's the son. So how does the board wrest control from him with a simple meeting?
They don't go into it. And then Harry's like, well, okay, cool. I'm going to go get Electro, and we're going to come back here and take back my company, which...
See, at that point, well, I agree. Everything they did with Electro's character bothered the crap out of me, but that scene with all the context and everything actually made sense with the characterization of Electro.
Yeah, it was okay.
Like I wish they didn't portray Electro that way, but that scene was very consistent, and the way that all comes together felt much more natural than a lot of the rest of this movie did to me.
The scenes that didn't feel natural to me are when they're back in Joel Schumacher territory, and they're inside this apparently Nazi war camp, insane asylum, and Mr. Stereotype German Scientist 101 comes out, and he's doing all these experiments on Electro. Like, it was... It was Joel. It was Ice to See You. That's how bad that fucking scene was. It was so bad. This was like he looked like something out of just some terrible schlock B movie of some evil German scientist. It wasn't even like cool Von Strucker like badassness from Cap 2. I mean, this was parody at this point. It was so bad.
And this is actually the thing about this movie that my brain doesn't quite understand. The way that they handled all the bad guys in this movie, the way they sort of dramatized and simplified evil scientists, blah, blah, like all that made me feel like, okay, so they're making a Spider-Man movie for a kid. But if you actually look at what happens in the movie and the story of the movie and everything, it's some heavy shit. I mean, it's not the kind of thing that I would necessarily take my kids to, so it seems very...
just to wrap into the end of the movie here, I mean, Harry injects this thing into himself, and he turns into the Goblin. It's not a mask, it's not a costume, it's just...
I loved when he was laughing.
Yeah, it was cool. It was
when he was laughing right before he arrived, I loved that.
Yeah, it was okay.
That's like the only scene in the movie that gave me chills.
Well, here's a couple of problems. We have Spider-Man and Mary Jane on the top of...
Gwen Stacy.
Just say Mary Jane. Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy on top of...
Again, I want to see which movie you saw.
One more day never happened for me. On top of the bridge. Yeah.
Clock Tower or something like that.
No. At first, they were on the bridge.
Well, yes.
And then they talk,
the scene
and then they leave the bridge. Why would you put Gwen Stacy on a bridge if you're not going to kill her in that scene? Because that's the scene she dies in the comics. So they have her on this bridge, and I'm like, all right, here comes the goblin, here comes the goblin. Nope, they just leave the bridge. What the fuck? So then randomly, he's like, okay, well, I'm going to destroy Electro, go destroy this power plant. And Spider-Man stops him. You saw the whole fight scene in the trailer.
Yeah, I have to say, science doesn't work like that.
And then Green Goblin shows up. He beats him, and then Green Goblin shows up, and it's like, oh.
Did the clock tower scene look surprisingly enough like the scene from the first Spider-Man movie fighting the Goblin?
And so he's fighting the Green Goblin in a clock tower that happens to be an old-style clock tower in this nuclear power plant. Why is there no style clock tower as part of this nuclear power plant? What the fuck? And he's fighting in there. And that's where they decide to kill Gwen Stacy for some reason.
The way they killed her, though, I think
it's a bit graphic.
Better.
It just seemed like a pointless scene. And it had what I think is... I laughed out loud. It was supposed to be a touching moment. I laughed out loud. He shoots the web to try to save her, and the edges of the web form a hand, and it's like just not going to reach her in time. It was the fucking cheesiest bullshit I've ever seen in my life. Like, half the theater laughed.
While I'm not saying that scene was well done or anything, the way Gwen dies in the comics and the explanation of it, I understand, but there was always that sort of sense of he saved her because the web gets to her in time, but...
when she falls, it cracks her, she snaps her neck. And I mean, basically the same thing happens here.
But the way that happens is you kind of get the sense of, did he save her? And then you kind of find out, no, he kind of killed her.
Yeah.
Where this, the web just doesn't get to her in time, so she... her head actually hits the ground.
Yeah.
And I thought that actually worked better because, like, the impact is just so to the point where you almost actually feel it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was the hitting of the ground bit was a decent scene, but again, at this point, I was so far checked out of this movie.
For me,
wait. No, people are going to start to realize we never talked about a character yet. Rhino. Remember Rhino's in this movie? Yeah, we are literally 2 minutes from the end of the movie, and Rhino is still not in this movie. Green Goblin may have had 2 minutes of screen time. Maybe 3. Maybe.
As Goblin.
Electro, maybe 10? Maybe 10 minutes of the movie. Electro's in it. Maybe 15. Maybe 15. We're literally minutes from the movie ending, and Rhino has not shown up yet. I'm seriously thinking, did they cut Rhino and not announce it? But no. Spider-Man decides, she died. Now we're going to be Spider-Man again. Enough time has passed. Now now a new villain has shown up. It's Rhino. You have seen the last film. You have seen the last frame of this movie because in the trailer.
I'm going to guess, right? It's when he hits him with the...
Yeah. That is the final frame of the movie. What the fuck? Like, Rhino is in...
I actually expected that to be the first scene of the movie.
Possibly, yeah. Rhino's in like 2 minutes of this movie as well. Green Goblin and Rhino, two of the major villains in the movie, are less than 5 minutes of screen time. And the Rhino is so bad. Okay, look. Transformers 1 and 3, I'll give you a cheese piece of shit. Whatever the hell happens in Transformers 1 and 3 is way better than whatever they did to Rhino in this movie. It was embarrassing. He's in this weird cyborg Rhino suit. Again, if we have already insulted Germany, now we've insulted Russia with the worst cheesy, Drunkinsky accent of all time. Even to the point of earlier in the movie where the guy that's Rhino is his regular guy, he's wearing like sickle underwear, like hammer and sickle underwear when Spider-Man pantses him for some reason. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with this movie? And he's doing this drunken boxing in his Rhino suit to Spidey, and a block away is a group of people standing out in front of some barricade while Rhino is fucking shooting machine guns, rail guns, and fucking missiles at Spider-Man. And these people are like 5 feet away, and the cops are like, whoa, no, it's okay. No, dude, he could have killed like 300 people in this scene, and they're just like fake fighting each other. It's the fucking worst. This movie... Man, maybe I do hate this movie more than the first one. It was fucking terrible, okay? I don't want to ever hear anyone in a million years say Green Lantern, oh, that's a piece of shit. No, fuck that. This movie was goddamn garbage, okay? This is an embarrassment to Spider-Man. There's some shit in the Green Lantern movie, don't get me wrong, but holy hell, if you think these are better than Green Lantern, you need to get your fucking eyes checked. This is fucking... the Green Lantern movie has gone with the wind compared to these movies, okay?
This is going to be an amusing week on Twitter.
It's so bad. It is so bad. Toby, you're not want to say anything, I know. I know you're just seething inside. It was so bad.
He doesn't look like he's seething.
It was so bad. You guys can say whatever the hell you want. I'm done. Fuck. It'll take a goddamn miracle to make me see the third one.
So bye, guys. Bye.
Later, Brock. We'll see you next week. It would be a goddamn miracle for making me see the third one. I'm seriously I've never been this upset over a movie. It really is fucking trash. It really pisses me off on every level. If we had been doing this podcast when the third and fourth Batman movies came out, maybe I would have hated them as much. But I was still a kid, so I was kind of like, whatever, it's fun. I still don't think Spider-Man 3. I saw most of Spider-Man 3 over the weekend. After I saw this, Spider-Man 3 is better than both of these. I'm sorry, it's bad, but this is bad on another level. This is embarrassing. I'm done. Podcast can be over if you guys want to. Otherwise, keep talking.
Podcast over just because that was some funny shit.
Toby, give me something, man. I don't care that you like it.
I'll respond with one word.
Like it all you want.
Okay.
Like it all you want, dude. I'm not mad at you. I don't care. I want to hear. Because 9/10 of our audience is going to be like, Ryan's a fucking lunatic. This movie was good. So be on their side. I know you liked it. You liked the first one.
I'm just going to say okay.
No, I want to hear. Tell me what you liked about it. I'm not going to reply. I'm done.
I'm actually just kind of enjoying you flipping out.
It's the more I think about it, the madder I get.
I actually kind of want you to just end it here. I don't even know where to begin because you're so mad. Is that actually? I just want you to keep going. Keep going. I didn't even know where to start. I don't know. You're throwing me off, man. I was like, all right, let's start with that. You had this reaction on Twitter. So going in, I kind of already expected some of this. Now, I told you up front when we first watched the trailers, I was kind of worried about this movie just because, including Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, I loved certain things that I really wanted out of the Raimi movies that I didn't get and that I got out of the Mark Webb ones. But I didn't quite like the villains. Seeing the trailer for this one, I was very worried about this. And after your review on Twitter before I actually even saw the movie, kind of confirmed what I was worried about. Now, me, Charlie, and my buddy Mike, we go in and watching this, and you guys know I do a lot of editing on the side. And I already knew I didn't like Electro going in. So I kind of went into the movie cutting Electro out of the movie as I was watching it. I'm no joke. I mean, no joke. I was literally I was watching this movie and I was cutting him out, his scenes out of the movie. And I turned to Mike about halfway through the movie. I'm like, up to this point, we could have just cut him out entirely and would have made a difference. At all. And I agree with you totally. I couldn't stand Jamie Foxx's Electro. I mean, that was just pure bullshit and insult and whatever else you want to call it. Everything there, you're right. I don't like any of the scenes. You call him the main villain. I actually think he's the secondary villain in this movie, and I'll go back to that why. I hated the dubstep whenever he was on. I mean, I just couldn't. I despised it. I feel like you guys are 5 years late on that. You wanted to be cool, but it didn't work. I know you want to do the electro and uber cool because you're mixing fun shit with dubstep, and that shit just did not work with me. I'm like, dude, come on, man. You kind of try to be cool, and when you try to be cool, that doesn't work for me. Anyways, as I was watching the movie, and when I watched the trailer, I really thought that Harry Osborn was miscast. However, as I was watching the movie, I was proven wrong.
I thought he was okay.
He was actually my favorite thing in the movie, which was a really, really nice surprise. I mean, he kind of encompassed everything Harry should have been. He's Peter's friend. He somewhat has a heart. He somewhat does not. He is angry at the world, yet he has a peaceful side to him and still wants to help people. I mean, I just so many levels that really worked for me. I also liked the way they reconnected, that they were kind of distant and then all of a sudden, like, after a while, a wall breaks and they reconnect. I kind of like that. So again, the whole movie for me works without Electro. As you go on, there's a lot of issues with this movie. There's a lot of plot points I don't like. My favorite things is Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Gwen Stacy. Andrew as both Spidey and Peter. For me, it works phenomenal. Gwen Stacy was ultra cute. My favorite parts about the movie is actually their post-breakup being friends again talk, when they're walking around talking about the noses, like the different things she does and stuff like that. That's one of my favorite scenes, and it's like one of the smallest things, but that's the stuff I kind of like. Like, you know, when I read Justice League #1, when they did it a couple of years ago with was it Ed Benes, and I forgot the writer, Metzler. My favorite page in that book, and I actually own the actual page, was when Ollie was talking to Roy at a boxing match. And, you know, these are the kind of things I really enjoy. So I really like that. Now, going back to the plot. Now, imagine a movie without Electro. Now, imagine Norman not dying. So wouldn't it make more sense if Norman was actually turned into the Goblin? Harry tried to save him. Spider-Man would not give up the blood. Harry knows that Spider-Man is Peter Parker and won't give up the blood. Norman dies because of a fight with Spider-Man. Harry gets super mad, blames him for everything, and goes kills Gwen Stacy. I mean,
I would have watched that movie,
right? I mean, and the funny thing is, you could literally cut it that way and make it work. You know, and it's really beyond me why it kind of went this way.
The only part about the Gwen Stacy Peter thing that just really started to bother the crap out of me.
It did a lot of film schooly thing to throw extra drama in, and
they beat you over the head with the fact that Peter promised her dad in the first movie that he would keep her away from him, basically, as Spider-Man, because he's going to make enemies. And they spend so much time in this movie explaining why this has to be the case, that the second that gets let up, she dies.
Yeah.
And because they kind of beat you over the head with it all movie long,
yeah,
it kind of makes Peter the bad guy.
Yeah. Now, I didn't quite mind it in the beginning of the movie when you start seeing Dennis Leary back in the movie. However, after you stating that fact made me think about it again. And I was like, wouldn't it be fucking killer if she dies and then he starts seeing him? Now, that would have been a bigger impact.
That would have been much better.
Yeah. Now, going back to also the other comments about, you know, cartoonifying the villains, which bothers the shit out of me, is you have a semi-dark movie. You know, you have the inner struggle with Peter Parker, which is actually some, you know, high-end stuff for films. You know, we're going, I'm not going to say Batman Begins level, but, you know, it's story-driven, character-driven story. And then you got the cartooning moment, like, hey, I'm a fucking bad guy. I was like, that shit doesn't work for me. And especially since you could have had some rich characters. If they really want to do the I personally think it should have been an Osborn movie at this point. Rhino was completely wasted. I mean, Rhino is a tragic character who's trying to rob banks to get a suit off of him, for God's sake, right? I mean, that's some story-driven shit. Why is that not even in there? On the other hand, though, you always talked about having a comic book movie where the dude fights like a second grade, third grade guy right in there. That's kind of what this is. They kind of made Rhino a second or third, fourth tier villain.
They could have opened it with that, though.
It's kind of what they did. I mean, they opened and ended with Rhino, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no.
I didn't. The only thing that drove me crazy with that opening scene, which again I thought was, I was like, okay, we're starting off the right foot.
It's too over the top.
Well, it's too over the top in two ways. One, I'm totally blanking on Rhino's real name. Again, he's a cartoon character, right?
Yeah.
He's this total fake Russian guy.
Yeah, and to me that doesn't work. Not when you have a kind of semi-deep movie and then you throw in all these cartoon characters in it, and it's like a mixture that doesn't work for me.
The thing that killed me about that scene, though, is you could have had some awesome scene of him going through the streets of New York with the thing, except the fact that you have, only outdone by the Blues Brothers movie, a cartoonish number of cops following him, smashing into each other and destroying the city. Like, it's funny in Blues Brothers because that's a comedy. This was supposed to be kind of serious, and it was like, dude, how are there like literally 100 cop cars following this guy, and they're like just destroying each other and smashing it all over the place. It was like this is way over the top, dude.
Cops in general in this movie were very silly and useless.
And you know what? Spider-Man when he's got the fireman hat on and he hoses Electro. That was a cool scene.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yes.
Like there was so many cool. There was a number of little bits. I shouldn't say.
And
these
are the things I like about the movie.
Cool little parts of the movie.
At the end of the movie, when the kid goes out, I thought that was a little too cheesy. Yeah. However, when Spidey goes behind him and kind of like fist pumps him, I was like, okay. That part I loved. I didn't like the beginning of that scene, but the end scene, I felt that's Peter.
If it wasn't in the middle of the street still with Rhino behind him,
exactly,
I would have been fine with that. Like if he had swung down and taken the kid to safety and then done the fist bump, would have been fine with it. But there were a couple of scenes in this movie where it's like, okay, everybody just stop what you're doing. Spider-Man's here now.
Rhino should have killed like 400 people in that scene.
Point. Yeah. You kind of threw me off there. Damn it! I had a.
No, I noticed that in
the other kid. I actually like the other stuff with the other kid, the science kid, when he just walks with him. I mean, like that's kind of a thing Peter would do.
Sure.
So there's a lot of very Peter, very Spider-Man things about this movie that I thoroughly enjoy, and I thought the relationship between Gwen and Peter was fantastic, and the little things.
I thought that Gwen and Peter there was one or two too many scenes.
I agree, which could have been replaced with more Norman Osborn stuff, and maybe some more Harry stuff. And I really thought Harry kind of stole the movie. I really liked him in the movie. Again, I don't know if this is the studio forcing Mark Waid going, we got Jamie Foxx and he's going to be fucking Electro. Make it work. It kind of felt like it. I mean, seriously, if you watch the first half of the movie, and for guys that haven't seen it, you're still going to go watch it after Ryan's excellent review of it, just... Whenever Electro comes into the movie, don't imagine those scenes. Just kind of delete it out of your brain. And the movie is already like 5 times better. I mean, it literally is. I mean, and it literally works for like 3/4 into the movie. I actually kind of liked Harry getting Electro out of jail and Electro being his muscle. I kind of thought that was kind of a cool scene.
Like that could have been the only scene that he was in, right? You could have just been
easily. In fact, why couldn't? So when he got Richard Parker's message, Peter. I kind of felt like that he would have gone to Harry at that point, explained it. Boom, Harry goes like, in fact, they have been following you all this time. As friends, they would figure shit out. They figured shit out, and then I almost wanted that Harry gets thrown out of his company at that point. He has all the information. He goes to Secret Lair and fucking digs out Electra out of this tomb. Fucking do the Schumacher thing then. Pull him out of this fucking crazy tomb, activate him, and you're my muscle at that point. That fucking would work for me. Yeah. I'm actually kind of tempted to recut this movie.
I like this movie. I like this movie that you made more.
I'm actually sitting here thinking, I wonder what would happen if when this movie comes out, we on Blu-ray, DVD, whatever, we recut it. And then try watching it.
And take some of those deleted scenes.
I'm actually really tempted seriously, I was cutting it. I was watching this movie just because I hated the Electro scene from the trailers. I mean, I knew going in I was not going to like him. Yeah.
I didn't realize from the trailers just how much I would not like the Jamie Foxx pre-Electro even.
It was just horrible. I was a flat out insult on horrible.
I already knew I wasn't going to like the quote-unquote ultimate Electro that they put in the movie, but I did not expect them to, like in the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon show, which I know Ryan's not a big fan of. He had a very sort of similar origin for Electro, but it worked so much better in that.
Yeah.
Well, we're running super late here, so...
The other thing about the last shot, I mean, they should just never threw that in the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, that works. I actually like movies ending on a splash, right? Yeah. You got Pirates of the Caribbean 2, which ended with Barbossa coming down the stairs and just laughed. Just ha, 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 boom, movie ends.
Great scene.
That's the best part of the movie, right? I know you're not a Fast and Furious fan, but Tokyo Drift... the one that's the kind of the outcast movie without the main character ends with Vin Diesel showing up at the very end, challenging the guy that been watching all movie, going, "Hey man, I'm here. There's a dude I knew," and then they go into a race and the movie ends right there. I actually really, really kind of like movies that end on a kind of an action shot.
Yeah.
So I would have liked this end, but they should have saved it. They should have never bothered putting that in the trailer because that was a pretty cool scene.
It's just
it's wasted in the trailer.
Again, I don't totally hate the idea of fighting Rhino for the last scene and having that's where it ends and then pick up with a third movie.
Yeah.
But it was not this Rhino, not this way. It was
Rhino's fucking unbelievable. And the way he's Paul Giamatti, he's a far better actor than what they used to.
Yeah,
you know,
again, why I go back to that Joel Schumacher thing where you take good actors and you make them into the 66 Batman versions of them.
Well, the villain's just horrible in this movie. Anyways, it's almost like, can we take Alfred Molina from Spider-Man 2, mix it with Mark Webb's Spider-Man and Gwen? So totally. At that point we have the perfect Spider-Man movie. I feel like there's bits and pieces I loved in the Raimi ones, and there's stuff I love in this one. And hopefully maybe at the next reboot we actually get the Spider-Man I really wanted. It's almost like I didn't get what I really wanted in the Raimi ones. Now I'm like not really getting. I get the Spider-Man stuff I really wanted, but I'm not getting the villain side of it. And so maybe in the next one they finally figure it out. So
yes, it's lovely when we start going, maybe the next reboot will be better.
Yeah,
and maybe part of this is because it's so close to the Raimi ones. I mean, maybe they didn't want to make this a Goblin movie because of the Raimi ones, because the Goblin was such a big feature in the Raimi ones, and maybe that's at fault here. I really don't know. I mean, I just think the whole movie is kind of wasted with some really good stuff in it. And I know you guys all assume I love the movie, but the way I look at it is, I came out of it going, okay, that was all right. And the reason why is I hated the Electro villain. I kind of think Chris Cooper was kind of bad too. I loved Norman Osborn as Harry Osborn as Harry Osborn.
Yeah.
I disliked him as the Goblin big time. I thought that was kind of wasted too. I did love the laugh when he showed up. And I was like, that's the Goblin. That's in all of the Spider movies that they've made. That's the fucking Goblin laugh. Finally.
But then they don't do anything with it.
Yeah, they don't. And again, I think Harry stole the movie for me, except for when you turn to the Goblin, it was fucking silly again. So the stuff I loved about the movie, the relationship stuff, the smaller stuff, the side stuff, outdoes the bad stuff in this movie. So I'm like, I can watch it because I can ignore the bad, because the stuff I like about it, I like so much more. But it's a middle movie, little middle tier. It's like a C. Like when the first one was like an A-, maybe B, but this is probably like a C for me.
No. All right. We are way over time, so we're going to wrap up. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, the music. I don't even know where you come from with the music. It's Hans Zimmer, man. As it starts, I was like, this is a fucking dope-ass score, man.
Go back and listen to the music with Electro.
Well, we already covered that part.
Electro was horrible.
Yeah, we
already covered that part.
It's a part where there's like this weird chanting in the background.
Yeah, but listen to the score of the movie.
Oh, I'm sure the score
is phenomenal.
Yeah,
in this.
Sure.
It's actually like the first time I noticed like right away. I'm like, fuck, what is this? And I looked up as Hans Zimmer. I was like, no shit.
Yeah. All right. If you liked the movie or didn't like the movie, write us and let us know what you guys thought. And we're going to talk about some more of that next week. But we have got to go. We'll catch everyone next week. Thank you guys. And see you next week.